Hey, welcome back into another Whoosh. What am I reading with me, Louie? So today we're going to take a look at the Midnight Suns run. It was a miniseries in 2022. Lasted until, I believe, January 2023. 5 issues. And it kind of came out around the time they were releasing the Midnight Suns game. Kind of as a way to help promote that game, I think. So, let's take a look. Alright, so the Midnight Sun storyline kicks off and you're at Strange Academy, which, if you have not read Strange Academy, is this awesome book that came out, and it centers around a lot of the offspring of magic users within the Marvel Universe. There's like Doyle Dormammu, there's a lot of cool things from him to normal characters that were brought in just because they possessed magical abilities. There's zombies like Zoe Laveau, who we'll talk about in a minute. There's people from Asgard. So it's a really cool story. So if you haven't had a chance to check out Strange Academy, absolutely do yourself a favor and go do that. It is phenomenal. Honestly, such a fun read. So go and read that. It's really cool. But it kicks off at Strange Academy, which is kind of set in Louisiana, kind of in an alternate realm. Like I said, go check it out. It'll explain it better. So it starts off with a shared vision among a lot of the magic users involving one of the students, who I mentioned, Zoe Laveau. She's a zombie. She has like this pendant, so no one really knows she's a zombie because it hides that she's a zombie. But it kicks off and she's bringing about the end of the world. And then we see this team made up of Wolverine, Blade, Magic, Nico Minoru, who you might know from The Runaways and the TV show Runaways, and then Spirit Rider, who is a Ghost Rider from the 1800s, also a Sorcerer Supreme, so pretty cool. They were transported to the present day in Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme, that run, so go check that out if you are interested in that. It's pretty cool, honestly. It's a fun story. I think one of the cool things is like Doctor Strange dies in the universe before this, so we see Clea appear as the Sorcerer Supreme. She actually gets rid of all 5 of those people who we saw in the Vision combating the end of the world, because she thinks if she can remove them from it, it helps eliminate one of the things that might be a step in that direction. She sends them to an alternate realm, and in that dimension, there's some weirdness there. So, but while they're in that dimension, we see Agatha Harkness, who, very important right now due to the ongoing show Agatha All Along, and how they're building up her character after WandaVision, and it's cool to see her in the comics. In the comics, however, she is an elderly woman since she's been around for ages at this point. She does still have the coven that she's had in the past, and they cut to some flashbacks showing that Agatha actually has history with Zoe's family. Turns out Zoe's family was part of Agatha's coven, and during the persecution of the witches, they actually summoned something called the Vapors of Voltaire, which is like this mist that forms into creatures. These creatures attack non-magic users to try to eliminate them. But it turns out during this ritual back in the day, they actually had to sacrifice a member of the coven, which Agatha was unaware of. They sacrifice someone who Agatha cares about greatly, and Agatha ends up cutting short the ritual so it doesn't follow all the way through, but they don't get the sacrificed coven member back. That sacrificed member's name is Karina. Pay attention to that name. It's going to come back. But we flash back to the present, and we see the banished Midnight Suns in the alternate realm, where they run into a Tony Stark from an alternate reality, where that Tony Stark is the Sorcerer Supreme. He helps to forge them magical armor so they can actually make contact and fight off the Vapors of Valtor. And it's really cool. Spirit Rider ends up connecting with an alternate dimension version of herself to get them back to their current reality so they can actually assist in the fight going forward. I know there's a lot of alternate dimensions, a lot of weirdness. Hard to keep up with it sometimes, because I was even reading it and going, huh? But it's a fun, cool thing, and I really love the way it tied into Halloween and everything. So But actually, they don't get back to their realm first. I misspoke there. They actually go to Valtor's dimension first to try to fight him. And on their way there, they make it all the way to the throne. Wolverine claws Valtor. It turns out Valtor's already dead. So, that's actually where they're able to use the Spirit Rider to get to their normal dimension. I misspoke. Timeline's got a little jumbled in my head there. But that's where the Spirit Rider uses the alternate dimension version of herself to get to their dimension, their normal dimension. And they're back there and they're helping to fight. We see Agatha and Zoe then attempting to fight off the mists, and Agatha is trying to convince Zoe to smash this mirror that's connected to the mists because it's her family heirloom. It's her rightful property. She should be the one to destroy it. And Zoe can't bring herself to do it, and eventually Valtor pops up. It's not really Valtor. Turns out that Valtor is Karina. She had been siphoning off his powers for so long, eventually overpowered him, murdered him, and now Karina is the one actually controlling the mists. Through all of this, the original Midnight Suns are back in the reality. They start fighting off the mist. They create like this big distraction. Agatha has this final confrontation with Karina where she stabs her in the neck and siphons off her power. And it turns out that Karina says like everyone thinks like she's gone, but she's not. She'll be back. So we'll probably see her eventually in the future. Clea shows back up and they have to explain like everything that happened because she wasn't there to help fight it off, even as the Sorcerer Supreme, which, if I'm being completely honest with you, is one of the weirder parts, I think, of the story, that as the Sorcerer Supreme, she wasn't there at all, outside of, like, disappearing the group, but whatever, I guess. The whole series wraps up with one final frame, and it's an entire page for the frame. It's Agatha now appearing younger, more closely resembling her MCU counterpart that we've all come to know, and I guess love now. I mean, she's been fantastic in WandaVision and in Agatha all along. So I guess that was their way of making her more closely resemble what we all know in the MCU now. So overall, I thought the miniseries was a good read. Out of 10, I would rate it 7.5. I definitely think it's worth going to check out, especially if you're not familiar with the Midnight Suns or you want to see some more kind of cool stuff, especially around Halloween. Go for some spookier vibes. Definitely do that. But otherwise, I would say, yeah, that's it. This counts for Blade on my anti-hero 5K challenge that I'm working on. So definitely keep an eye out for more of those. This is number 4 out of the 10 I owe you. So we've already got Ghost Rider, Winter Soldier, and Punisher all done as part of this. Now we have Blade to add to it as well. So we'll see you soon. The next up will be Daredevil, Charles Soule's Daredevil run. Probably the first 2 volumes of that right before we get to Muse, who you'll see in Daredevil Born Again. So keep an eye out for that one coming next. And yeah, we'll catch you here next time. Thanks.